overslept.
Yeah, so thank you for having me, because we have a lot of questions. I'm from the French community, and we have a lot of questions for you.
Okay, go ahead. It'd be great to hear it. So where in France are you based?
I'm sorry?
Where in France are you based? Just out of curiosity.
I'm in Paris.
Paris? Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
So, what do you want me to start with? I've got long questions and small questions.
whatever ones you want to start with. We
Uh,
got another whatever it is, 7, 8. Yeah, basically 7.5 hours. So
Not too long.
yeah.
Slowly.
Okay, slowly. One question at a time. So the first one, it's about the universe. What is possible company-wise? You said we can be able to mount a company, but can you automate it with PNGs working for you? Can you have other players working in your company?
Yeah, we definitely can hire other players to do things for you. So you can hire other players to haul cargo, other players to do security. And I think when you said you cut out for a second, was that NPCs? Was the other thing you were saying?
Yeah, NPCs. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can also hire it for the same thing. So NPCs and players are kind of interchangeable as far as that goes, but generally probably a player may be slightly more smart or reliable in some cases. But you're able to supply ships and just hire people to fly them for you, or hire people that have a ship and will do the work for you.
And so do you have to pay them?
Oh yes.
You want me to keep you guys on this?
I mean, unless there's someone that will work for free. But the idea is you'll have to pay about either NPCs or real people. NPCs pricing sort of determined on their quality level, and then on the AI side, on the real player side, that's sort of a bit more of a market going rate. But we're thinking of with the plan is to have a rating system. So like when players like I guess in France you probably don't have Uber, but you have, I don't know if there's Yelp in France, but basically both the person that hires the person that hires and the person that gets hired both rate each other at the end of the job. So you can say that was a 4-star or 5-star boss, or that was a 4 or 5-star employee. And so when you're hiring people, you can look at how they were rated in the past. So if someone's got 1 star, you're like, okay, he didn't do a really good job because no one's rated him really high, so you probably wouldn't want to hire that person. Whereas someone that has 4 or 5 stars would be someone that would be, yeah, they're pretty good. They're worth a premium price because they got a high rating.
Yeah, right. And so to continue on the company, how do you mine? Do you have to have special equipment to mine to start with? Special cannons?
Yeah, to mine, you're gonna have to have mining lasers and also other equipment to help collect it. And we haven't fully fleshed it out, but my goal is to have essentially to have a certain amount of skill based in terms of exactly like cracking a seam on an asteroid to be able to say mine the minerals out. And if you don't do it the right way, then you'll probably damage it and won't be able to extract as much or extract any at all.
Alright. And so when you have the ore, you have to process it, or can you directly use it to craft materials?
No, you basically have to take the ore to somewhere that refines and crafts it, and then that refined, whatever it is at that point, steel or whatever, could be somewhere else for a factory that would need it in its construction or whatever. But it's sort of like, think of it the same as a current sort of economic resource chain.
Yeah, and so all of this is done by the player. I mean, you can have a company that does the refinery process.
Yeah. So by default in the game, in the system, all this is happening. AI is doing it all the time. NPCs are doing it, but a player could step in and take the role of basically the factory owner or whatever, and then be hiring other people or making sure all this is happening.
All right, and so craft-wise, you can create a crafting company.
Well, we're going to let you create a company that you could like tweak and sort of build custom spaceships and overclock the equipment for it. So you'll definitely be able to do that. And crafting, I guess, basically owning a factory will be the equivalent of crafting. So it's different than like the old sort of Ultima style crafting where you craft like some trinkets or whatever. This is more like you own a factory and you got to make sure that you're getting so much raw materials that would
Yeah.
meet your needs for manufacturing so many finished goods.
Uh-huh.
Make sure there's buyers of that, or you're shipping those goods to some planet that there will be buyers.
All right, and so you can craft equipment for ships as well and sell them then.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, you could have a factory that maybe like builds missiles or builds like laser guns, and
Uh-huh.
for that you would need to be buying the raw materials, and then you have a certain amount of workers and a certain amount of machinery that would be required to do that, and then you would
Uh-huh.
turn out a certain amount of like finished items, and those finished items can be bought by the player base or by the AI base.
All right, and you're limited to a few recipe, or can you create new guns and new equipments?
No, you're kind of limited to. I mean, currently our thought is just that you're limited to certain kinds of stuff, and you would take over a location, and maybe you would upgrade the equipment to build a higher quality
Uh-huh.
gun.
Yeah. All right, so you can change the quality of the gun, but not the gun itself. Is that
No,
it?
I mean we may have a situation where we decide, okay, we're designing a new kind of gun. Maybe that's an item that you can buy for a bunch of money, like from an R&D company or scientist, and then you could, once you bought that, you could manufacture that gun.
Uh-huh. And another question about the universe. How much dynamic is the map going to be? I mean, are planets gravitating around the star system? Are solar systems gravitating the same, or is it all fixed on the map?
Well, we had that question earlier.
I'm sorry.
So the answer was right. We've sort of looked at actually simulating like the various planets in orbits and stuff, but our sort of decision on that was that it's going to be really hard for the player to even know or appreciate that, because relatively to his time scale, he's not going to appreciate the movement. And a lot of times the jump points are going to be relative to the planets anyway. So we sort of decided that maybe that's more an idea that's cool in concept, but in reality, the player would never appreciate it, because your nav sphere would always sort of auto-correct for whatever the most recent positions are. So the only way that you would ever really know it would be based on if there was like some area or landmark that like was always stationary, never moved in that system, which is fairly unlikely. But
yeah. And going on that, in freelance you could move around and go anywhere you wanted in a system, and be at a given set of coordinates, and say to a friend, can you join me there? And to travel, use the fast lines and jump drives then to go to a system, from system to system. How is it going to work in Star Citizen to travel in the system and in another system?
Well, pretty similar. So essentially, when you're flying around in the system, you have navigation points on your nav map, which are like the charted ones. But if you sort of fly off the beaten path, and you come across an asteroid field, for instance, you can you've charted that. It will now appear in your nav point, and you can share that with your friends, and they'll know how to get to you. Or you could say, okay, here's my beacon, come fly to where I am, and they can autopilot in pretty quickly. So, in regards to that, a lot of similarity was in Freelancer. And then in terms of the outer system travel, that's jump points. So the jump points are the way of going between the different systems and actually being able to travel a great distance in light years in a blink of an eye. They're typically kind of sort of fixed or whatever.
Alright. And you have to navigate with jump points, am I right? When you are inside the jump points.
If you're discovering the jump point for the first time, you definitely have to navigate them, and it's very dangerous. But if you're jumping through a jump point that's already been navigated and documented with the UEE, then your ship, as it goes through, in almost all cases, has an autopilot that will essentially take care of it. But if it's the first time you're doing it, you've manually got to do it, and that's actually a very difficult task.
And are all these fixed, or do they appear and disappear randomly? Because I mean, exploration-wise, if they are all fixed, in a few months when the game launches, everyone will know where they are.
Well, we're sort of debating that. I mean, most of them will be fixed. There may be some stuff that kind of moves around. But the other thing is we're planning on adding systems all the time. So even once we go live, we're planning on adding systems on a pretty regular basis. So even though some people will have discovered some of the systems, there'll be new ones coming online, and also on top of that, not everyone's gonna have, I guess, seen or explored everything at the beginning. So
Yeah. But I mean, can exploration be a daily job? Can you have something to do daily on exploration basis, or is it just when you add a new system?
Besides sort of the big ticket thing, which is discovering a jump point or a system, and like I was saying just before, we're not going to have everyone the game's going to start. I think we have 115 systems, but we're actually going to have a bunch of them already hidden, so they'll already be waiting for people to discover. And then it's a big deal to find it. It's a big deal to jump it. But beyond that, even in known systems, you basically only have sort of key navigation points. And there's a whole bunch of the system that's like kind of unmapped, and you can fly around as an explorer, and maybe you find an asteroid field off in a corner that has like a deep, rich seam of minerals, and so you map it, and then at that point you can tell friends of the location and share it with them, or not tell anyone and just mine the stuff for yourself.
And so in for guilds, if I'm in a guild, what are my options on the size of the guilds versus fleet versus squadron? You can want to play with your friends in a squadron of 6 or 7 person, but will there be a system for guilds of hundreds of players?
No. So we're definitely doing functionality that supports very big groups. So whatever you want to call them, fleet's kind of a cool name, or a guild. Then there's functionality that's there just to support 4 or 5, say, friends playing together, and also functionality to support one individual player. Back, David.
All right. So still on guilds, can you craft big ships and then share them with the guild?
Swap this.
So basically all ships and weapons are manufactured by economic nodes. Generally, in most cases, they're NPC controlled, but we're going to let players take it over. I don't know, necessarily if a guild can maybe buy out a big capital ship factory. That may be a bit weird. I don't know. But there would certainly be the ability to, if you've got enough funds together, to sort of take over some of the economic nodes.
I think RSI wants to let other people build their ships. I don't think that's.
Oh no, I'm not necessarily saying RSI, but I'm saying that in general, you can take over some of the economic nodes, and then you're running that business, whether it's whatever it is, producing food, building missiles, who knows.
I've got a good question for a late reveal, Chris. Actually, while we're talking about that, what if a player designs a ship that we accept the design for into the live game? Could they then have a factory to build their own ship? That seems cool to me.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Sweet. There you go, something to aim for, fans.
So to modding then, because I spent half my childhood chasing girls and the other half modding freelancer. So I have a few questions about modding.
Okay.
We already know that if you run your custom server, you'll be able to customize almost everything. Correct me if I'm wrong. You'll be able to modify it just like Freelancer was moddable. But what can you do on the persistent universe? Is there a way to mod something on there?
Well, on the persistent universe that we're running, we have to curate it. But we're gonna be running some we're gonna announce something at Gamescom where it's a sort of competition for the community out there to participate and create some content for the game. But obviously, as you see the detail of the ships, there's a lot goes into it. So it's not necessarily that everyone will ever do that. But we got a fair amount of pretty talented people. So we'll do something. But on the community modded stuff getting into the main game, that's not. There'll be a little bit of it, but not a vast amount. We're not gonna be like, okay, build the whole star system for us, build a whole environment for us. It'll be more the game things like, hey, here's the specs for a ship that we want to do, and let people out there design. It's almost like competing for a government contract for a fighter or something.
And so what are we going to have some kind of API, some kind of kill mills to track performance in the game and to have them on the website.
So okay, what are you saying? So you want an API
Stats tracking.
to the game and the website?
To the database?
I'm sorry.
Was that correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
So an API that's like in the game or in the website that lets you pull data out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're not against that. I think we're kind of going to have to build something like that for ourselves on internal use. So we'll probably expose some of that. I can't promise that it's going to be on the very initial persistent server like beta or alpha, because there's a lot of things to get done, but that will be on the list.
Course.
We have to be very careful about letting people even read our data because there's danger to that for all the fans. So we'll
Yeah,
have
of
to
course.
look at that carefully.
And if are huge guilds gonna have any kind of impact on the universe? I mean, if two huge guilds collide and go to war, will it impact in any way the universe?
No, definitely. That's kind of part of the. I mean, kind of what we were talking about earlier, because there's been a few questions along these lines. Is that, you know, we're setting up everything to do frequent content updates. We don't want to do big drops. So the idea is that we're doing enough frequent content drops where we're basically, you know, like 1 week's a star system, another week's a new ship, another week could be like a series of missions in a corner of galaxy, and we're also updating sort of like the gossip and news from around the galaxy, and that's all stuff that is dynamically done, right? So as the players are playing and we're generating content, we're looking at kind of what's happening, who's fighting who, and you know, in our player base, and then that's getting reflected into the fiction that, for instance, we're like going to be pushing around the universe. So, like, if you go into a space bar and you hear about, you know, a turf war between two guilds and squadrons in a certain corner of the galaxy, that could be completely something that's player driven, and we fed it into the system where so someone else in another part of the galaxy can say, oh look, there's, you know, combat battle going on over here.
And so on ships then, how much ships are going to be in the initial release?
Whatever they're done, man.
They're all. I mean, it's all going to be game credits. So, I mean, I think the base ship that you can have when you start is the Aurora, and then, you know, after that, we haven't figured out exactly the appropriate sort of credit to dollar exchange rate, so to speak. And so I think a bit of that factors into it. So we're not sure. It's kind of hard for me to say, okay, this ship's going to be 100,000 credits, or this ship's going to be 10,000 credits, or this ship's going to be 1 million. I mean, it's not going to be that, but I think that, you know, you could probably think that something like the Constellation is, you know, I don't know, 250 to 500,000 credits or something.
At least. You're probably getting a better deal now than you will when you get to the game credits.
The way it works for the game stuff is, if the Constellation is 225 now, and let's just say arbitrarily we say it's 1,000 credits to $1, that would probably be something like 300 or 350,000 credits in the game currency versus what we see in terms of the dollars and stuff that would be now. So
and yeah, and so how many ships are we going to be on launch? And can we see them?
I don't know. We basically have committed to 14, but there certainly will be more than that. I can't say exactly how many are going to be, but there's going to be more than 14 that we've announced.
There's some Vandal ships for Squadron 42. There's some Jean ships. We don't know. Numbers exactly, no. A lot.
Alright. And when I'm on foot, when I'm seeing my avatar and I'm boarding a vessel, can I switch to first person and third person mode or not?
Haven't made the decision. Obviously, first person's definite. I haven't made a decision about being able to switch to third person. You'll definitely be able to switch to third person between first and third person in the hangar, just so you can see your cool character walking around. I don't know on boarding potentially. yeah, I'm not really that much against it because I think you'll probably want to be in first person for most of the combat.
Yeah, of course. A question I get asked a few times on the French forum about the translation of the game. You said it's going to be fully localized, but is it subtitles or voiceover in French?
No, it'll be voiceover in French. It'll be, so you basically, I think we're doing what they call e-figs, which is
Uh-huh.
English, Italian, French, German, Spanish. So in that will be dubbed as well as subtitled.
And to the translation of the website, when is it going to be translated in French?
That's a good question. The new website actually has built-in translation, so we can kind of do that. And obviously, it's been built in Montreal, so they're sort of slightly, partial to French.
The French perspective.
Although it maybe not the same French that you guys.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Oh, it's almost the same. Yeah, close enough.
I think on the written
It's
side,
a little bit.
the pronunciation is the biggest thing. So we haven't quite decided that. I mean, the actual things are set up in such a way that we could potentially have some of the community come in and translate stuff because the actual web platform allows, different languages and sort of the translation sort of infrastructure it has.
That's a great idea.
Well,
They're in Montreal, so they basically have to do bilingual stuff.
Yeah.
So
we've set it up in a way where a lot of things are tokenized, where it's dynamic and you can set a setting in your settings, your language, and it'll fill those fields with the proper translations based on your settings. But we haven't translated the full site.
Yeah, because
we will definitely need help from the community in order to get that all translated in all the different languages.
Well, I mean, we are already translating everything you guys come out with in French, so we'll be glad to help.
Yeah.
And so on to dogfighting module. Will you be able to pilot every ship or only yours, only the ships you pledged for?
only the ships you pledged for.
Alright. So you won't be able to test other ones and to help debug them?
Not presently, no.
Alright.
Kind of the idea is you play off the ships that you pledged for.
Alright. And is it planned in the beta or in the game to have some sort of simulator when you can try out new ships before you buy one?
Yes, definitely. So there's definitely be a simulator, and we'll also have an aspect of that in the dogfighting module. So in the dogfighting module, you don't necessarily have to fight against other players. You can fight against AI in a sort of simulator arena, so to speak.
So in combat, how do you resupply? Can you resupply first? If you use, let's say you're a bomber, you make a torpedo one. Can you resupply to another ship on the battle?
No, we'll definitely have the ability for some of the bigger ships to be able to essentially help resupply, whether it's missiles or whatever, fuel, ammo, because we're going to have like projectile weapons as well as the energy weapons, and they have a limited amount of ammo. So all those things, depending on what's happened and depending on what group you're in, potentially that can all be sort of handled in a battle. You can get some help and not have to go all the way home to rearm or anything like that.
We just have to figure out how it will look cool.
Alright. And so we've spoken about player-driven events, but are you guys planning on doing some events, some big events in the game?
You mean like we decide that there's a famine on a planet and there's a...
Yeah, things like that, yeah.
No, we're definitely, that's part of us looking at the game and folding in what the player's doing is also part of us playing God in some places, and we say, okay, things are going a little too smoothly, let's shake it up a bit over here.
Alright. So to instance, to the instancing system then, I have a few questions. First of all, let's say you are in a big hub, with hundreds of players, and you have a few people of interest, each in different instances. How is the system going to handle you? If you have people of interest in different instances, will they be grouped to you or not?
Well, yeah, I mean, the idea is that we matchmake dynamically every time that you drop in and out of autopilot as you're running around in space. And that matchmaking, is based on a lot of factors. But, one of the factors would be the proximity, to... hang on a second. I'm getting punch drunk on my things.
It's a little late.
See where I was in my conversation. I thought one step ahead and lost my train of thought.
You drop out of autopilot, it puts you in an instance.
Okay, yeah, drop. Thank you very much.
Glad someone's keeping track.
It's essentially matchmaking based on a bunch of criteria, which will be, who's on your friends list, who's your enemy against you, like who you designated as a person of interest, what the ping is. So that's kind of geographical, right? So you're not like if you're in France, you're probably more likely to match up with someone in Europe than to match up with someone in America. And all those factors go in. There's another aspect of factors of sort of whether you prefer PvP or PvE and how you set that request on the slider.
Magic slider.
And they all sort of get crunched, and that sort of determines, kind of who you get matched up with. And so it could also be, we don't want to match people up if someone's like just beginning and someone's an expert. Unless we can, if we can't help it, we probably wouldn't match those two up because that wouldn't be a fun battle for.
All right. And
you can have some skill-related matchups too. At some point, we'll measure the right things to tell how good a pilot you are, and at some point, there will probably be some balancing for that too. I'm guessing.
all right.
Yeah, that definitely happens.
But what if you have two people of interest, each in different instances? How is the system going to handle you?
Well, you're saying that there are two people of interest that you've marked. They're in the same area but in different instances.
Yeah.
Dave needs help.
I think probably just take a rating for who the one that you're want to be closest to, and that would also factor in, and they're both on your friends list, but basically who they're fighting and what's going on.
So all right, and then two instances still. For huge events, let's say we have a few hundreds of players wanting to battle in a given system. There will be 2 or 3 different battles on the same space because of instances. Am I right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I'm hoping that. The thing with our instancing system is that it's getting created and destroyed dynamically all the time. And it's basically happening on a sense of a navigation sphere. Versus anything that's kind of permanent. So even if you're not matched up or in a different instance, you'll probably be out of it pretty soon and maybe matched up with a friend correctly the other way. But generally, we sort of reserve slots for everybody in terms of slots in the instance. And so there should be room for you to join your friends, so to speak. So
another question about repairs you have to perform on your ships. Can you kind of EVA and do repairs on the hull of your ships?
No, yeah, you're definitely going to be able to go outside your ship, especially on some of the smaller ones, and do some sort of kind of quick repairs, so you can at least get your ship to limp home and get repaired properly.
Duct tape and baling wire. It'll get you home. It won't get you home pretty.
So another question is about gold tickets. What will be their impact on the game?
Well, not really that much. I mean, having a golden ticket just shows that you were there before the game was even announced, and you're going to have a sort of a cosmetic badge, and I think we're going to give one sort of in-game item away with it. It's not anything that's particularly unbalanced. It'll be more a sort of cosmetic thing. It would basically say, "Hey, I was one of the very early people to support this project."
All right. And when we get to 13 million, and I say when because it's not if, are we going to be able to buy the destroyer or not?
To buy the destroyer.
Yeah.
I think the destroyer is going to be the biggest playable, purchasable ship in the game. Anything over like a cruiser battleship or the carrier has to be earned by capturing and playing it.
All right, and will you be able to pledge for the destroyer as well?
We haven't made our mind up. We won't be revealing or showing that for quite a while. We actually haven't even started the design process on that. But I don't know. We'd see. I mean, I think there's certain level maybe, but not very many.
Ship to ship that.
All right. And so, can you announce us the next promotion?
The next promotion, well, I mean, I guess the next promotion's the hangar module. And other than that would be our stretch goal, right? But we've done 13 million, right?
Yeah, what's coming up next, Chris? I have no idea. I've lost my place entirely. It's what, 4 o'clock in the morning here?
We got
There.
I just had my camera on.
2 minutes left before we pick up the
4 till 4.
round table.
I don't know.
Round table?
It's what's listed. We have 12 and 13, right? On the side.
Yeah. 12 and 13 are up.
So the most recent one
Schedule.
was the CIC one, right? There was the Oculus Rift, and then it was the CIC.
4 a.m. Art round. Oh. Okay.
And
Part 2.
Yeah.
one last question.
All right, one last question.
I gotta
One last question, and I let you free.
No, it's cool. Thanks for taking the time to call and ask all the questions, though.
Oh no, thanks for your time, and thanks for the amazing work all the team is doing. By the way, on behalf of the whole French community, I have to congratulate you guys because you are sending us dreams even before the game's out. So thank you very much.
Oh, very well, awesome. Well, everyone's doing. We got a great team, and it's kind of fun building a world in a live manner, which we're doing right now. Even though I'm a little punchy.
Dave's obviously working.
So one last question then. Are we going to have variations on all ships, just like we had on the 300i and the Aurora? Are we going to see the same thing on the Constellation, on the Hornet, or not?
So the plan is that every ship will have in-fiction marketing materials for it that we will basically share with everyone in the community.
Uh-huh.
They're also intended to be in fiction, like in the universe. So if you're down in a ship dealer in Origin, maybe they're playing in loop in the ship dealer, you're seeing the commercial.
All right.
Or the trade show unveil of the different variants.
So what's the next one?
Well, it sort of depends. I guess there's a couple that are in contention. So basically, the Hornet, the Freelancer, and the Constellation are all sort of vying for potential ones to be the next one. And it kind of depends on some of the asset schedule. The Constellation is pretty much done in an engine and it's animated, but it still has to be set up for its vehicle setup. Freelance is still in construction, although we're pretty getting. It's a fairly decent realized 3D model. Hornet, obviously, we've got the base Hornet, but we still need to do civilian stuff for it. So those are sort of the 3 ones. So it's kind of hard for me to sort of make an estimate of what the one's absolutely going to be the next one.
All right. Then thank you very much, and congrats once again.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you for calling in from France.
I'll see you.
See you in the verse, as Eric says.
Oh, no! You stole Eric's line? Uh-oh.
Star of the show says, see you in the verse.
Redacted.
Yeah. I think David got a little younger in his picture.
Wow.